It's 2022 and there are hundreds of reasons why you should start creating content. But I know some of you are being held back with wanting to go with a DSLR or mirrorless camera. There are hundreds of options for you to choose from when it comes to shooting on mirrorless cameras, from Canon to Sony to Leica to Blackmagic. However, I really want to talk to you about this one camera that I've owned for 4 years and why I think you should consider buying it, especially if you're on a budget. And that camera is the Lumix G7. Hey, what's going on, guys? Seez, Santos here, and this channel is all about helping you and inspiring you to create content with whatever means necessary. So if you're interested in learning about technology, gear, and other new exciting ways to create content, consider subscribing. I know some of you are probably wondering, really, the G7? This camera came out years ago and has honestly been replaced by the G95 or the G100, depending on who you talk to. I would probably say the G95 is better than the G100, but Panasonic, do what you gotta do to sell cameras. Honestly, this camera has been my go-to camera. I've shot so many videos on this. I've done so many live streams with it. It's honestly taken a beating. I actually bought this used on eBay years ago, and it came with the kit lens and some other accessories. People at the time that I knew that were doing content on YouTube were using Canons and Sonys, but I really wanted something different, not because it's a brand thing, but more on the fact that I wanted something in 4K. So first off, let's compare it to today's smartphones. Does this camera stack up to the latest and greatest iPhone 13 Pro? Technically speaking, this camera is a lot better than this iPhone. The Lumix G7 has a 16 megapixel sensor, shoots in 4K, 30, 24, 1080p. It can do up to 60 frames per second. The native ISO on this is 200. It doesn't do that well in low lights. Comparing it to an iPhone, latest and greatest iPhone 13 Pro, this only has a 13 megapixel sensor. You do get different camera lens options. So you do have the ability to shoot on the wide, the super wide, or the telephoto lens. If you get a mirrorless camera like this one, you really are stuck with whatever you get unless you upgrade. In this case, this is the kit lens that came with it, the 14-140. It is telephoto. The aperture does change as you zoom in. It's a variable aperture. It doesn't stick to whatever you set it to if you're zooming in. So this camera, honestly, out of the box like this, would benefit most people, especially if you're looking to get started with content creation. This lens I actually used before I upgraded to the lens I'm going to show you in a second, because it was just what came with it. I didn't need to get anything at the time. After shooting content for a while, I realized I needed to upgrade, and after talking to some friends of mine, I realized that there is a pretty budget option when it comes to getting a lens. There is one lens that can help you do it all, and that is the Sigma 17-50. This lens that you see here isn't a variable aperture lens, so as you zoom in, the aperture doesn't change. You can actually lock it in the camera. It is a DC focus motor on this. Basically, this one does have stops, which for filmmakers or people who are doing content on YouTube, it actually does benefit you to have this versus having the infinity focus where you're just pulling on it and you don't know where it stops or where it starts. This definitely does benefit, especially if you're using a gimbal, and I'll get to that later in another video where I actually use this on a gimbal. Also, the cool thing about this lens is that it is a Canon lens. So you're probably wondering, how do I use a Canon lens on my Panasonic? Well, that is with these adapters. This is a Viltrox Micro Four Thirds to Canon EF adapter, and this actually is a speed booster, and I'll explain to you in a second what that actually means. So this allows you to connect your Canon lens to your Panasonic while at the same time allowing you to get a little bit more light. It's a good all-around lens for anyone looking to use mirrorless cameras, and especially if you're looking to move in the future to Canon, like some people do, and they want to get a different system in the future and they're planning on it. But in my case, I'm probably going to stick with Panasonic for a while, or jump to Blackmagic in the future. So this camera you can still get brand new from B&H for $597. You can probably get a discount depending on the sales and whatnot. But like I was saying in the beginning of this video, if you're starting off with content creation, you always want to try to save some money. So if you look on eBay, you can literally get this used for a lot lower than brand new. As you can see right here on the screen, you can actually see a bunch of deals and a bunch of cameras similar to this one that have sold for a lot cheaper than buying a brand new. I swear by eBay, I've never had any issues with them. They have a lot of really good payment protection stuff, so if you don't get what you pay for based on the description, you can get your money back. So I would consider using eBay or even like OfferUp. You can probably find this camera OfferUp locally by a local seller at a better deal than you can find on eBay, for all I know. Truth be told, this camera in 2022 is still relevant. This camera is still powerful. You can do some pretty decent color grading with it, nothing crazy. You can't really compare it to a Sony Alpha camera that shoots like in Vlog or S-Log. And another thing to consider is if you're looking to get into streaming, like a lot of content creators nowadays, they're creating podcasts and are using cameras in order to, you know, shoot the podcast and put it out live in that moment. With this camera, with the right equipment, allows you to live stream with it. And one of the important things about using a camera like this to live stream is having a clean feed. Canon cameras, some of them, depending on which one, don't have a clean feed. You'll get that weird data on the screen where it shows like the f-stop, and you can't remove that within a live stream. So you need a clean feed, and this is amazing because it allows you to connect mini HDMI over into a full-size HDMI, allows you to use something like the Camlink 4K, which I've used with this camera, and it has really good color and also audio fidelity straight from the audio mic port here, so you don't really have to worry about audio. But like most people who do podcasting, they have a separate audio setup for them to get good clear audio. This camera is really awesome with that. It doesn't shut off as long as you have adapter here that will allow you to pretty much have the camera on the whole time. It doesn't overheat if you have it on like that. There's people that have literally used it for 24-hour live streams and haven't had any issues with using this while doing so. And that's the great benefit of a camera like this. You're not only buying a camera you can record videos with, but you can also live stream with it, whether you're doing it for events, for your community, for a church. You can literally use this for those specific reasons. Now, after owning this camera for 4 years, do I regret buying this? Honestly, my answer would be no. Reason being, I was looking for a good camera at a good price that had 4K at the time, because that was the new thing, 4K content on YouTube and everywhere else. I wanted to buy into a platform that I could easily expand into in the future. At the time, I was thinking, you know, I could upgrade this to Canon and still have a good backup camera in case I needed one. I don't regret buying this. There's so many pros to this camera, but as well, like I talked about, there are cons to it. If I had to buy a camera today and I needed something new, I would go with the G95 because it does have in-body stabilization, so you don't have to really worry about that camera jitter. This camera doesn't have IBIS, so that would probably be my only regret, is that this doesn't have IBIS like most new cameras do. So that would be one thing that I do regret about this camera when buying it, but it has done really well for me and will continue to do well for me because this is actually my main camera that I use for YouTube. Also, another thing too with some of the newer cameras from Panasonic is that they have the ability to shoot in Vlog. So that is a flatter color grades for you to actually pull a lot more colors and mess with the footage any way you want. Obviously, there's limitations. You can't just like pull so much color and data out of it. There's limitations with every single codec that's being used on every single camera, but it allows you to do that and shoot in that flat color grade, whereas the G7 doesn't allow you to do that. You can only do so much with the codec. And I'll probably do a whole video on how I set up my G7 for what you're seeing here now. I'll get into that definitely in a different video. And if there's any other content that you want me to do specifically on the G7 or on how I record my videos, leave a comment down below. I'd definitely love to hear from you guys. And as always, thank you guys for watching. If you reached to the end of this video, I appreciate it. Please consider subscribing. And as always, have a great day.